Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And Sega is back in the news yet again, but this time with an interesting new patent that could signify a handheld-like device by Sega. Now, does this have anything to do with that quote-unquote revolutionary Sega Famitsu announcement coming on June 4th in Japan? That is a very good question, so we will dive into that here in just a bit. Also, developers are once again praising the PlayStation 5 for its architecture and how easy it is to develop for. Now, granted, this has nothing to do with the power of the console, so don't get ahead of yourself just yet, but we will talk about that as well. But first, let's go over some of the quick news. And first up, we have a new game by Konami that just shadow dropped out of nowhere by the name of Skelattack. Skelattack is available right now for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, the Switch, and Steam for PC. I really don't know why Konami did not advertise this game whatsoever, because it actually looks pretty good. They are explaining it as a unique action platformer, but from what it appears, it looks like a Metroidvania, but I might be wrong about that. That's one issue with not advertising a game ahead of time, but it does seem to be very charming, and I like the art style here a lot. It's cute, and this just might be a game worth checking out. It's $20, and definitely go check that out if you're interested. Now, there was another game that officially released today, Valorant. This game, though, has had plenty of genius advertising through the means of Twitch streaming the beta, but it is officially out right now, and they dropped a new sick animation launch trailer. Valorant has obviously been compared to Overwatch quite a bit, and this advertisement is probably going to continue that trend. In the past, Overwatch has used their animations to tell the story of Overwatch and its characters, and truly the animations by Blizzard are just phenomenal. So it does appear Riot Games will be doing the same thing here with Valorant, and the animation for Valorant looks really good. It kind of reminds me of the art style for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which looks really good in motion. I do think that Riot Games did a good job here, and hopefully they do more videos like this going forward. The main reason I am talking about this though is because yes, Valorant is available right now on PC, free to play, so go download that game if you've been waiting to play a new competitive first-person shooter. In other news, the first Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion has got a new official release date, and you won't have to wait for too much longer to play the heavily anticipated expansion. It will be available on June 17th for $30 with a plethora of new Pokemon to play around with, including brand new, as well as some old favorites returning, such as Absol, Scyther, and Luxray. Game Freak will also be continuing with Galarian versions of Pokemon, which includes the legendary birds Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno, as well as some others. They actually look pretty cool as well, and they did add some new Gigantamax forms as well. You do get Venusaur as well as Blastoise here. I personally don't really care for the Gigantamax stuff myself, but if you are into that, you do have some new ones here to look forward to. I know Sword and Shield has had a lot of controversy surround it, and the fact that they are making you pay for expansions, which aren't exactly cheap at $30, that includes Pokemon that did not originally release with the base game, probably won't help here, but with that said, it does look pretty good in my opinion. It's even adding in some new features and mechanics such as tutor moves, which are always incredibly important to the competitive scene, and this does have a lot of potential of breathing new air into the metagame of Pokemon Sword and Shield. I will ask you though, do you like that Pokemon Sword and Shield is getting expansions to give the game more longevity or not? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on though, we have a free game to talk about, and this is a pretty big one. So Sega's new game Total War Troy will be free for the first 24 hours of its release on August 13th, which is fantastic news. A brand new game completely free of charge on launch, but there is a catch here. So Total War Troy will be a timed exclusive for an entire year on the Epic Game Store, and that does have the community a bit split. Not everybody is exactly a huge fan of the Epic Game Store, as it does lack some features compared to its biggest competitor, Steam, one being mod support, and that is a big draw for the Total War franchise. This is the reason some fans really dislike when the Epic Games Store gets a lengthy timed exclusive, as some fans do feel they are forced into a lesser experience. But hey, you do have a chance to get this game completely free the day it launches, so I honestly don't think that's too bad of a deal. If anything, you can go download it and play it for the next year completely free, and then if you really like it, you can then go buy it on Steam when it releases in 2021, and then mod it there. I do wonder how much deals like this cost though. Epic Games is obviously swimming in money now that Fortnite has exploded over the last couple years, but paying for an entire year of timed exclusivity on a big game like this, and somehow have got them to offer the game completely free of charge the day it launches, that could not have been a cheap deal at all. If anything, it really shows that Epic Games is very serious about growing their store, if it wasn't already obvious. Now this is just my opinion though, but I think they should probably prioritize adding more features to the Epic Games Store before getting deals like this. That way it can be more similar to Steam, and that way fans don't have to be angry over situations like this. But again, it is free, so why not just go check this out if you're interested in Total War Troy. And speaking of Sega, let's talk about that patent for a moment because this is really interesting. So we all know by this point that Famitsu will be revealing some quote-unquote revolutionary Sega announcement on June 4th in Japan. Now that could be June 3rd for the East, but I digress. Rumors have been running rampant right now as to what this announcement could possibly be, and many people do believe it could be the Sega Series X, a partnership between Xbox and Sega to release a console under the Sega brand in Japan. And that could be one possibility, but now a new Sega patent has been uncovered, and many fans are speculating on whether or not this will be the announcement in Famitsu. I for one do not know if the two are related myself, but this patent seems to be detailing some kind of touchscreen-like controller. Now that is no guarantee, but the patent's details goes on to say it is an information processing device that includes a controller that generates a game image of an object disposed in a virtual game space. It goes a lot more into detail, but it is very confusing to say the least, and based off the pictures, it's a little hard to figure out if this will just be a touchscreen device or if there will be physical buttons as well. We do need to keep in mind that patents don't exactly show pictures of the actual device, so it's hard to tell what this thing will ultimately end up being. There is, however, some speculation that it is indeed a touchscreen controller. Some believe it might just be for mobile phones, while others think that it could be a new handheld Sega console. Now, I don't know about all that, but that would be really cool. I remember the Sega Game Gear when I was a kid, and that was a really cool handheld console back then, but would Sega have enough support to make a console like this over in Japan now? And I thought about that and current rumors with the Xbox and Sega, and it got me to thinking, it could end up being a streaming device using something like Project xCloud. That will be coming to Japan later this year, so maybe Sega could make a controller-like device that could stream games, and not just xCloud, but other streaming services as well like Google Stadia or PlayStation Now. Now that could end up being really cool as well, and Japan does like handheld consoles a lot, so to have something like that available for streaming platforms, hey, you never know, that could end up actually being a success. Either way though, I'm just as stumped as you are as to what exactly this touchscreen controller device would be. And again, I have no idea if this is related to the revolutionary Sega Famitsu announcement, but I am curious as to what you think this device could be. I would love to hear your thoughts as well on this subject, so let me know in the comments below. And do keep in mind that this is just a patent, so it may never even see the light of day. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And now for the last topic of the day, developers are once again praising the architecture of the PlayStation 5 and how easy it is to develop for. In a recent GamesBeat article, they have claimed that some anonymous sources were saying that the PlayStation 5 has better architecture than any other console in history, and developers may find it a joy to work with. Now, he does say that this is from anonymous sources, which I'm not really a big fan of because we don't have the context, who said it, or even if it's made up. I don't think it's made up, but I'm just not a big fan of using anonymous sources without explaining further, as this does raise a lot of questions for fans salivating over news on next generation consoles. And hey, did these developers actually say this very specifically, or is he rephrasing? I mean, there is questions when it comes to anonymous sources. With that said though, I'm not really too surprised by this. We have heard multiple developers praise the PlayStation 5 for how easy it is to develop for. This has nothing to do with the power of the PlayStation 5, it's just the ease of development, and obviously it is easier to develop for compared to past consoles such as the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. The solid-state drives for next-generation consoles, including the Xbox Series X, will make moving assets around a lot easier for developers. The mechanical hard drives available in the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 sufficed, but developers did have to work around them quite a bit from my understanding. With solid-state drives though, developers will no longer have to work around those same issues, so I do imagine that this is a huge benefit of having solid-state drives. And something that PlayStation's Jim Ryan said a few days ago was that they expect development costs to go up in video games, but if it's easy to develop for, hopefully those costs don't go up too much. But yeah, I do think that next generation consoles, both the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, will be easier to develop for compared to previous generations. I don't think that's really too surprising, but it's all the more reason you should be excited for next generation. You have to remember, the easier it is for developers to make games, the more innovative they can possibly be. Just think of it this way, instead of spending all that time working around these slow mechanical hard drives, they can instead focus on adding new features and new content to games. So that is pretty exciting. Anyways though, that's it for this video, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.